Hey builders, welcome to another episode of Build Mode. This week we're bringing you a special holiday bonus episode featuring Kevin Demoa, CEO and founder of Glīd, fresh off of their startup battlefield win at TechCrunch Disrupt. Kevin is a veteran turned founder who's bringing a grounded and refreshing energy to the startup world. In this conversation, we'll dive into everything startup battlefield, from the nerves to the preparation to the incredible group of founders who were all cheering each other on while competing for the grand prize. We also dive into why so many veteran founders are building mission-driven companies, Kevin's strategy for handling high-pressure pitches, and what it takes to actually win one of the most competitive startup launch programs out there. Let's get into it. All right. Morning, Kevin.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you? You just won Startup Battlefield 2025.
Absolutely. It feels crazy. I'm blessed.
So tell us who you are and what Glīd does.
Yeah, so I'm Kevin Demoa, founder and CEO of Glīd. And Glīd is the world's first autonomous road-to-rail solution. What we do is corridor balance, road extremely congested, rail severely underutilized, and the bridge between the two is called transloading. It involves multiple pieces of equipment, a lot of moves, a lot of people, a lot of capital costs, and is extremely slow and dangerous. What we do is we break that down to one move, one machine, a person or no people, and we make it very safe, efficient, with a business model that makes things cheaper.
That's fantastic. And so dig a little bit deeper into who you're selling this to and what the value is for your customers.
Absolutely. So we sell it directly into railroads, ports, industrial parks, eventually to the world. What I say, don't ship it, just glide it. So we want to be the new way that you transport anything between the two corridors. Think about road and rail being the cheat code for each other. You know, they have a lot of humans on the road with semi trucks and everything else, and then you're like, wow, the rail is unoccupied. How can I use that? So the core thesis here is to congest rail, congest road, so that you utilize infrastructure for what it is, right? For the meet demand and capacity, and you don't have open capacity out there.
So tell us a bit about how you got into this. How did you start Glīd?
Yeah, so Glīd is my love story to logistics. You know, I've been in logistics since I was 17 years old. I've shipped and packed and designed and anything you think about moving a box or moving a person or moving a piece of equipment, I've done, from the military and the Army, the Air Force, SpaceX, Northrop Grumman on the F-35 fighter jet, to Canoe, to Romeo Power, to Harley Davidson Z-bikes. So I did bicycles and, you know, twin prop airplanes. It was my obsession with moving us as a race, as a humanity forward. So during that experience, I came across a lot of pain points in logistics. And the biggest pain point is how we utilize corridor, how we really utilize technology for what it is. You know, when I see a lot of folks out there that when they build based on what's cool, right? Not so much for, you know, what actually works for how we move people forward. So I wanted to tackle a big pain point where I saw no one really tackling. And that was multiple movements based on, you know, folks' units of economics or the speed in which folks want to do things, and tackle it in a very elegant way. So I know it was a long way around to say, hey, I just wanted to make things safer and cleaner and faster, you know, utilize the infrastructure that we have here today.
I mean, that's awesome. And that's the kind of stuff that'll win Battlefield, right? I mean, you're a visionary in many, many shapes and forms. But
Thank you.
I also just want to quickly double click and clarify on what exactly are we moving at this point with your products?
Yeah, totally. So first we're going to move containers. You know, 20-foot containers, we call them TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units, are the most moved commodity in the world. But you can fit anything in it, from toilet paper to rocks, to people use them for houses. You know, in the military, they use them for like command centers, and now they like 3D print like drones and stuff like that underneath them. They're a very versatile thing. So we've designed Glider M to do just that. Rating can do just that, but it doesn't have the material conveyance to move itself. But we do have the capacity to move that. So that's a big moat that we're looking to really tackle.
And so how's it going? How's your traction? Where are you at in sort of your journey so far with Glīd?
Absolutely. Yeah, our traction has been amazing. You know, we've signed like 5 big railroads as well as drayage companies and industrial parks. We've gotten over $70 million in customer commitments. We're piloting with big industrial parks down in Parsons, Kansas. They're called Great Plains Industrial Park. And then we launched 3 products, you know, at the same time.
You did. And that's actually one of the things I want to ask you about. So I mean, for an early stage startup to have 3 products, nonetheless 2 are big beasts of hardware products.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about the suite of products, first of all, how they interact with each other, why you decided to have 3 products, and sort of how they differentiate themselves from each other.
I'll start with the vehicles because people like hardware. So when I started the business, I wanted to build an autonomous truck train because I like robots. I love, the futuristic stuff, but you got compliance and regulation and adoption and safety and all the other human factors that you worry about. And it's a really, really long process to do. And I saw the problem just continue to get worse. So one night I was like, well, what if I put a human, on this thing? And I was like, well, that's not going to be enough. Like, that's kind of what folks are already doing. That technology exists. What if I put a way to put material conveyance on this thing as well? And that's where Glīd M was born. And I said, on top of it, what if I can buy it, put it together, assemble it, and get certification done with it, and then deploy it out? And that's how Glīd M and our partnership with Custom Truck One Source came into mind. And then I said I got to overwrap that with software. It's one thing to have hardware that can do the thing, and then you go and team up with a person and you integrate with them, and then you deal with all of their problems and their pain points with everything else. But why not build a software in-house that does all the things that we need them to do? Ezra 1.6 is essentially our AI orchestration tool that essentially takes static infrastructure and pairs it with dynamic environments from our 2 vehicles, as well as weather, inclement or regular, and then the different data points surround it. And then it creates a digital twin within the system that we can orchestrate from. And then to overlay that with traditional brokerage, traditional freight management, and then provide cost savings to the customer all in one, and then provide all 3 in the ecosystem. So you have the Glīderverse per se. That's what we created. Yes.
I love that. And also your products have such cool names.
Yeah, they-
That's like every time you were telling me a new product, I'm like, yes, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. And so, I mean, you have mobility as a service, right? As a business model. So, I mean, usually your customers are using the software as well as one of the hardware, both of the hardwares. Like,
Yeah.
how do they decide, or how do you go about advising them of which products to use?
I initially tell them to buy all of them.
That might have been a silly question.
No, that is not silly, not at all. So yeah, buy them all, but you can't use them all.
So, I mean, specifically with like the manned vehicle and the unmanned vehicle,
Yes,
like
of
what situations might those differ?
Yeah, of course. So for the manned vehicle, the Glīd M, the M stands for manned.
That actually is helpful context because I have been getting them a bit confused as we work together.
Yes, absolutely. So that is more shown on the commercial side, the public side, where we have to interact with the DOT or the FRA. So we don't have to worry about compliance and regulation. You can just get approval from the rail line, and then the DOT offers the road up for free. And then Raiden will be used in private environments. So think contested logistics, private ports, or private drayage places where they have to do like yard marshaling or something like that, where compliance isn't really a thing. It's up to the user's discretion on what they want to actually use on their property. So it's really, really good for those type of environments where they're trying to reduce their headcount, or they have headcount that just doesn't show up, which is the reality that we live in. Truck drivers, forklift operators, crane operators, railroad engineers, they're not cool jobs anymore, and they're aging out. So those folks are retiring, and the new generation is coming in saying, I really don't want to sit behind a wheel of call it whatever you want it. So those folks are now in industries where they have a lot of capacity, but they're taking losses in their business because they can't fulfill it. So that's where rating comes in.
That's interesting. I mean, especially with, the rise of AI, and it's so easy to almost have a desk job, a software job. It's like easier than ever to have access to knowledge jobs, right?
Yep.
Rather than like having to go in person. And I mean, long haul truck drivers is a incredibly intense job.
Oh.
I would love to sort of click on that too, because I mean, I think there are probably people who are like first assumption is, okay, it's going to take some jobs, right, to make this autonomous and to use your solutions. So how do you think about that when people kind of ask you those questions? You explained a bit about it, but what is the reality, right? Like how many jobs may be displaced by this?
Absolutely. We're not looking to displace jobs at all. We're actually looking to create jobs. Like my job is to make logistics sexy again. Right, where a person's like,
Put that on a t-shirt.
Absolutely, yeah, logistics sexy again, the Glīd way, just glide it.
It's on the back.
Just glide it.
Yeah.
But it's like my biggest thing is generational wealth in the form of wisdom and knowledge. Right, educate folks on how to do things safer. Plug in like things that people think are awesome now, like digital twins or remote operating. You already see the drone guys doing it. Why not do it on the hardware side, on the logistics side, on the commercial shipping side, where a person can sit at home and control multiple vehicles while you have one person out in the field, or a person can be a digital twin mechanic and work on a truck, from a safe distance, but plug that into your regular jobs. And then for the folks that, want to be hands-on, because there's a lot of folks out there that's like, I want to touch and feel and get my hands like greasy and dirty and, feel what a part is. Like, and like start to spool up those kind of jobs. Pare industries down. You have a lot of like NASCAR performance workers on that side of the thing, whereas entertaining, do something that's more purposeful, like shipping goods, which I think is good, and put those folks into these kind of jobs, and then call them a sentinel, for example.
So let's talk about you and your job again, because
Yes.
I've told you this before, but I think you have to be one of the most interesting human beings I've ever met. No, honestly, every time we have a conversation, there's some new like mic drop fun fact. And I'm like, no way. I mean, you speak multiple languages. You are a professional backup dancer.
Yes.
I mean, not to mention the fact that you're, the founder of an outstanding company right now, but you're also a veteran. I mean,
Yeah.
tell me a bit about just like how did you become you? Like, what gets you up in the morning, basically?
Yeah, totally. And I appreciate that. So many flowers, so much grace. I'm humbled. What gets me up in the morning is living, is life. And it's a gift to wake up. And I say a lot, if you read like my LinkedIn, is like pay rent for the community that you're here inhabiting. And so my entire career has been to servitude. My first job was I worked at Burger King, at a high school, and and part time I taught dance, and I joined the Army where I served, and I served multiple tours in theater, and I moved to California to dance, and then San Diego was on fire, so I joined the California Air National Guard, and fought fires with those folks for a while until I retired, and then I joined SpaceX. They wanted to serve a mission to make humans interplanetary species. So I did that, and then I went to Northrop Grumman, and they wanted to do a fighter jet, so I wanted to serve there, and then so forth and so forth and so forth.
I mean, that is
Yes.
incredibly inspiring. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't even begin to imagine how many different perspectives you've gotten to see through all of your journeys, and how well-rounded that can make someone to follow a purpose like that, right? Instead of maybe aiming for the goal of like, I want to be a unicorn founder, and that's what you started your life thinking, maybe? Or was that always a goal of yours, actually?
No, never. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thing is to solve a problem. I think that money and stuff like that, and unicorn and stuff like that, it'll come if it's intended to be. But if you focus on solving a true problem to advance as a species, I mean, that's a gift enough. Everything else will follow suit if it's meant to be.
But I guess just kind of big picture here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of young people out there who,
Mhm.
do what their parents want them to do. They're going to go to Stanford and then they're going to become a doctor and whatever, like that kind of path. It sounds like you have really just followed your mission in life and your gut and your intuition at every step. And whether that took you a totally different route than you were a week ago, like
Yeah.
that's what we're doing today.
No,
To be honest, I would like to think I've done similar things in life, and I think it gets you where you need to be, because you're not like following someone else's path. So what would you say to some of the young people out there who are maybe thinking, I need to be a unicorn founder, I'm going to drop out of college because that gets me funding, and then I'm going to do this? What would you tell them to do, really?
Yeah. You led with it. Find your purpose, right? Find your purpose and align with the problem that is truly a problem, not something that'll give you a lot of hype or a lot of clicks and make you viral and stuff like that, because that's like pursuing happiness, which is very, very short-lived.
That's awesome. Find your why. And I know
Your why.
we're going to turn the tables to Battlefield here now, because I think there's a couple things I want to tie in. But I know some of the judges were even asking, like what's your why, right? Because, I mean, when investors are going to write multi-million dollars of checks for you,
Yeah.
they want to know that you are going to get up every day, and it's going to be someone like you who is mission-driven and who burns for solving this problem, versus someone who's just after it for the hype and for the money, right?
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about that Q&A up on that stage.
Yeah.
What were some of the hard questions? What maybe caught you off guard a little bit?
They're all hard questions, I will say. When you poke at a person's business and their theory behind their thesis, it was always hard. It allows you to examine in real time what it was. A lot of the business model, questions were some of the hardest ones. The answer is like, hey, what do I put in? What do I truly think as a business 5 years from now? How we get there and what that path looks like.
Just maybe tell us a little bit about your go-to-market strategy over the next 12 months, 24 months. Who are going to be the key customers you're going to go to? What do you think is going to be top of mind for them as they're thinking about deploying this new technology? And what might a test or a pilot look like?
Absolutely. So we're actually deploying GliderM in just 2 weeks. So GliderM just came off the line, and GliderM comes off the line with both FRA as well as DOT certification. That's all we have to do is hire a CDL driver. The railroad that we've contracted with actually provides them with G-Core certification, so it's a de-risked application. We put the driver in the vehicle, and then they're assigned to either do containerization at an industrial park or any kind of commodities that they want to transport. At this particular industrial park, Kansas Proving Grounds in Parsons, Kansas, they have aggregate. They work with Dan Zimmerman that does munitions, as well as containerization. I think the questions are the hardest when you can't just answer them on the spot, but they have you elaborate and kind of ruminate on them, in the background.
They
to
keep
challenge
you up at night?
They keep you up at night. Oh, I sleep pretty good at night, but they're the first thing on my mind in the morning.
I mean, we can also talk about live demos because I wonder if that maybe kept you up at night because
That one kept me up at night.
because obviously for Battlefield we do require that the top 20 companies do live demos, and a lot of people get freaked out about that. Some find it a fun challenge, which I think you guys did take it as a good challenge. You guys had a great attitude about it the whole time, even though you had probably one of the most complex demos to coordinate. You had 2 live demos and 1 video demo, but even that in itself was a lot to coordinate because you launched that product a week before Disrupt, right?
Really?
Oh my gosh, tell us about that.
Oh, it was crazy. So Ezra 1.6, making sure the software works, and anybody that knows software knows that it takes an army of people. We don't have an army of people, so it took an army of hours and talent and relentlessness in order to get that to where it was. Even though we had a okay product before then, TechCrunch made a step Ezra 1.6 up to the state that it is today. And then Raiden was completely in a different location. It was in Utah, getting ready for SEMA next week, where we had an offsite staff with no comms, really. We had to put up a Starlink as well as a generator for them to have power, and then have that go over Zoom, and then have GliderM coordinating with, a big power like PACCAR and custom truck, to make sure that we had access and video cameras and everything else. And then we got inclement weather as well, so we had to move to a video. So then now it's now we have to go into a full production, about production, you have music and coordinating music, and I'm really particular about my music, so I'm just like, man, it's got to feel like this.
This is a vibe, make it happen.
Absolutely, to uniforms, to just time. It was a lot, but I told my team out of the gate, I was like, we're solving a big problem, so I want to show on stage that we are logistics experts. Right, I want to show 3 great products in the way that it's supposed to be shown, and it needs to be perfect. So yeah,
and it was pretty dang near perfect. I mean, everyone was very impressed. Hence why we're sitting here with this big old trophy right here.
How you doing, darling?
Hey. I remember, being backstage and working on our pitches, or working with you on your pitch leading up to it, and we're like, so where's Raiden today? Where's Ezra? How are they doing? It's like, another member of your team, basically.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. They feel like additional members on our team.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very cool.
Yes.
So let's talk a bit more about that experience. So you just won $100,000, this bad boy right here, and some fame and glory, not to mention. So how did it feel to win?
Oh, it's surreal. It is absolutely surreal. I don't even, it hasn't locked in yet. I think the feeling is gratitude, extreme gratitude for you, for Michael, for your entire team and everything that you all put into it. Your mentorship, your leadership, what you pour into us at every level, the top 200 to the top 20, the top 5 to the winner, me. It's just legendary. So the feeling that I feel is extreme gratitude, for this opportunity to show the world how to glide.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate that. It's a labor of love, but honestly, when we get companies like you that help us represent Battlefield and we can show the world what you're building and tell people about it, I mean, that's a huge win for us too. So we are very, very proud of you and very happy to have you represent. So what are you going to use the $100,000 for?
What we're going to do is take a portion of the proceeds and put it into more development, and then put some into our hiring processes, store a little bit away for dry powder, at the same time. So $100,000 goes fast, but if you use it resourcefully, it can do great things.
Absolutely. And I mean, are you hiring right now? What are you hiring for?
Yeah, we are hiring. We're accelerating Glide. What we have to do, we have a very audacious business model, and we have a big backlog of customers, and they're growing. TechCrunch really opened up the eyes to a lot of folks that were sitting at the gates, like, oh, can it happen? And then once they saw 3 products on the screen, they're like, oh, they actually did it.
It's happening.
It's happening. So everything that we're doing has happened underneath like 1 year. Like we deployed 3 products out and stuff like that. So back to your question, we're hiring every core competency from engineering to our famous sentinels that we talked a little bit about on stage to administration to operations. We need to grow into as a business because we are in 5 regions right now. So yeah.
And you're also raising right now?
And we're also raising.
Got a lot on the table.
Yeah,
Gosh.
yeah, absolutely. Everything all at once, all the time, from everywhere.
Is that the movie title, or did you just make that up?
I was thinking about the movie title, but I was like, I got to make it mine. So let me change the order and drop in everywhere at the end.
So tell me a bit more about, again, experience of Battlefield. Obviously, I grilled you on that pitch for 2 months.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say sorry, but you won. So
I don't know. I appreciate it. I was like, this is tough. I was going into the meetings like, oh, I got to get my stuff together. Like, you yoked me up as a CEO. So I appreciate you.
yeah, thank you. I mean,
Absolutely.
you are welcome, I guess, but it's been a pleasure. I mean, look, when we do pitch meetings, there's always a range of founders in the top 20, right? Some take it very seriously, and some are kind of like, I'm great at pitching. But like,
Yeah.
you always showed up to meetings with like humility and like ready to work and prepared. And that is so fantastic
Thank you.
to work with you and your team also. I mean, just phenomenal. So really, really impressed.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it goes into you as well. Like I said, as a leader, like you show up. You could be on the other side, like kind of cowering to these founders. You don't. You show so much strength, in all that you do. So when we, come to the meeting, it's like, yeah, this is boss lady here, and she's gonna give us something that aids us in our journey.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's that having the humility to understand the situation that you're in, to respect the other person on the other side, and then show up accordingly. And that's what I wanted to do every single time.
That's
So
awesome.
thank you.
Mutual respect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I would also love to chat a bit more about sort of the other founders in Battlefield. Obviously, there are 200 companies that
Yes.
are in started Battlefield, and then you've been getting to have some more FaceTime with the top 20 and the top 5. How was it kind of getting to meet the other founders?
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. I mean, you're dealing with the folks in the world that are really trying to change, things within their eyes, right? These are the pain points that they see and they feel and they want to commit and sacrifice their life for. And it came in all shapes, sizes, languages, geographical locations, and to deal with it like the top 200, top like 20, and the top 5 companies in the world was wild. To sit down and listen to their journeys, listen to their why, and then meet with their teams, because a lot of them brought their teams with them as well. There's a lot of veterans in this as well.
We had 16 veteran companies this year, at least. That's what we like had tracked from an application, right?
Right.
Just like the data, but I think there were actually more who had co-founders who are also veterans. Like, why do you think? Because we have our own maybe hypothesis behind this, but as a veteran, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, we love to pick companies, like you said, who are mission driven, who are changing the world. Why do you think there's this correlation between veteran founders and those kinds of impactful companies?
Yeah, I think it's like purpose. I mean, when we join the military, you join for a purpose, whether it's like patriotism, or yeah, you just want to do something for mankind, to do your part, and it sticks to you. It becomes a vital piece of you, and when you do something that doesn't align with your core competencies at that point, it feels off. And you journey around. I can speak from my own experience and some of the community of veterans that I know that are founders, and you pop around these places that are like, man, this doesn't feel right. That like strikes my integrity, right? It strikes like my selfless service. So I don't belong here. So it forces you to start things on your own. It forces you to operate from a place where you're not safe. Being a founder is unsafe, period.
That's really interesting, actually. I read about the risk tolerance, right? I mean, that's, yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. To solve a problem that nobody else is solving, or solving a problem that maybe other folks are solving, but not for the way that you see from your lens. I think that's really important to zero in on is, I think competition isn't competition because they're just trying to be better than one another. They just see it from a different lens. So.
And I mean, I always love to hear like when companies are, they have competition, but they encourage that competition because we're all trying to solve the same problem. And if someone else beats me to curing cancer, great.
Absolutely.
Like, honestly, I mean, maybe not great. I would like to do it myself, whatever. But fantastic. So that's a really kind of beautiful perspective to tackle this from.
Totally.
Speaking of beautiful perspectives, I was looking at the top 20 group chat this morning, and there were some really, really heartfelt messages from both you, but also from the other founders who didn't win, maybe didn't make the top 5 even, but were so supportive and proud of you to represent the top 20 and to represent the startup battlefield. How does that feel?
It's humbling. It's absolutely humbling to have your peers, give you a vote of approval. It's one thing to like win, and then it's hard to win. Don't get me wrong, it's hard to win, but to see the folks that were around you that were competing, respect the person that was at the top it speaks numbers to who I am and what I push out people as well. It's the ultimate confirmation, affirmation, you name it, whatever the Asian is, that she is a seal of approval. You belong where you are. So
yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, it is a competition, clearly.
Absolutely.
And I, as the program manager, I always get, a little bit, hesitant about this. I'm like, okay, so obviously we want to spark or to foster a community of startup battlefields.
Absolutely.
And to have founders work with each other and partner with each other. But then as we start picking top 20, top 5, people get a little, it's a competition. Like, I want to win. And
Absolutely.
Right. And so that can come out. And some, groups, it comes out more than others. And this year in particular was just a really great group of supportive founders from the beginning to end. Nobody had like a bad attitude about it. And I think part of it is like because you won and you are such a positive and inspiring person. I think everyone was just kind of like, all right, I respect. Like, I wish it was me, but respect. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was cool to see.
Yeah, me too.
But speaking of sort of working and partnering, within the startup battlefield, I was at the startup battlefield reception yesterday, and a couple companies came up to me and they're like, "We love that Glide won. We were just talking to them about a potential partnership."
Yeah.
But speaking of which, I mean, have you gotten, I mean, you said you didn't really check your LinkedIn yet, but have you gotten any sort of bites from when we announced that you were in the top 20, from when we announced you were in the top 5 on Tuesday? I don't know if investors, potential customers that you've been eyeing, like, have you gotten any attention?
Oh, lots of attention. Customers that we've been talking to are like, yeah, let's do it. Customers that said no came back and were like, oh my God, you actually did what you said you were going to do. We've had investors like say, oh man, I missed out on something. Can I come in? I was like, probably not anymore. We'll see. And then we've had other investors at the show, approach us, and been great. Already starting great conversations. And then talent. We had a lot of talent come to us, at the show as well, and essentially pitches on who they are and their why, which is intriguing. Folks say, how do you select your team members, or did you use an HR service? I always say God sent me every single person on my team in some way, shape, or form. It's always been this organic process where we just meet and the vibe is there, and they give me their resume, and I'm just like, you want to do what with me? Because you're like, you're dope.
We hire on vibes and glory, or like,
For now, and it forms our culture. We have 4 core competencies that we hire from. So the first one is God, or something higher in oneself. We don't say everybody has to be Christian or whatever it may be, but something a higher power of sorts. The second one is you have to have family. You have to be rooted in something that you live and work for. The third one is self, right? You take care of yourself physically and mentally, and you practice mindfulness. And the fourth one is commitment. The commitment is to Glide. And if you go up and down that ladder, they all support the next rung. Glide supports the employee supports their family, the family believes in God, and it flows back down that exact same way. So that's what we hire for as a culture.
That's awesome. And that actually gives me a little bit of insight because, switching gears a little bit, but we're coming back to this because I called all the top 5 to tell them that they made top 5, right? And so most people are like, oh my God, I'm so excited, right? Like freaking out. Some were like, we're already researching investors. Kevin goes, I'm going to go meditate. That was the best answer. I was like, okay, respect. Like you do that. I hung up and I was like, that's the best answer I've ever heard. So, I mean, and I love how that ties into the mindfulness. And I think that's just such a fantastic way to handle pressure, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, someone calls you and tells you you're going to have an even bigger pitch with even more intimidating world-class VCs the next day. And you're like, I'll meditate on it. That's a fantastic way to handle it.
Not everything takes action. Like the action that you do is like, sit with it.
Don't freak out. Don't over-prepare. Just, sit with it. That's awesome.
And then what you get out of that experience, it will tell you exactly what you need.
Yeah. So what advice would you have for someone who is thinking about applying for Startup Battlefield and would love to be where you're sitting right now next year?
Yeah, absolutely. Build something that's meaningful. And that's the biggest thing, ensure that it's ready for the world. Do the work that is needed to meet the caliber of companies that belong in this competition. Do the research, get a mentor that may have, been in Battlefield before and ask them about their experience. Be prepared to go into it so that it's intentional, and then meditate.
I love it. Did you do that? Did you have a mentor that was in Battlefield before, or how did you hear about the program?
I did. So Solidion was
Solidion.
yeah, Olu
Awesome
and
guys.
Sid, yeah. So they're great, intelligent, brilliant, young men. So they're in the top 20 last year. And
Oh, I know.
yeah, no, yes you know, yes you are.
It's a lot with those guys, but they're so much fun. That's
Absolutely,
awesome. Yeah.
absolutely. So they were my mentors in this. Sid has supported me in this journey, quite a bit. He was on the VC side for a while. We're supported by Capital Factory as a company. He introduces the Capital Factory as well as Antler, our first investor, and that came from Sid Rao. But yeah, they were our mentors for TechCrunch. And then we did the diligence to make sure that we were prepared as a company before we applied. And then once we applied, we continued to work, as you stated. We never stopped working. Yeah.
No, but that's fantastic. And I mean, from our perspective, we love referrals from alumni, right? Nothing speaks louder than a referral from someone that we already know is fantastic because we've already worked with them. And it's similar with VC world, of course. But so I think that's a great tip to reach out to some of the alumni, especially that are sort of aligned within your industry or that can help you prepare for the application and for the journey, because it is very competitive. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the stats that you've heard before, but less than 1% make it to the top 20.
Wow.
And then you can only imagine. I mean, I'm not amazing at math, but then to end up winning the competition is pretty awesome. So huge congratulations, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's my honor. Thank you for having me.
Build Mode is a TechCrunch podcast. Each episode is produced and edited by Maggie Nye and hosted by me, Isabel Johannesson. Our art and design is also by Maggie Nye. A big thanks to Morgan Little, who leads our audience development, the Foundry and Cheddar video teams, and most of all to you, the builders, and everyone else in the wider startup community. We'll see you back here next time.